Afghan refugees mourn the fall of their country to the Taliban with a song of love and lament. I have become homeless, it says. Without you, I have been shoulder to shoulder with sorrow. For years, they nurtured hope of one day helping to rebuild Afghanistan. Now that is gone.
We
don't want the Taliban to govern. In the past, they've attacked unarmed people. They've overturned women's rights and they orchestrated genocide against the Hazara people.
The national flag is displayed in defiance of the Taliban, who are replacing it with their own white flag containing scripture from the Quran. Young women sport long hair, piercings and makeup as hallmarks of their liberty, another act of defiance. And women are clearly at the forefront of efforts to win hearts and minds in Europe to help oust the Taliban. This isn't just a political cause for them. KARIME has several female relatives back home, and she fears for their lives.
My relatives in Afghanistan are in danger. Many of them are teachers, many of them are journalists, part of the army, some of them are working in the army with the government. All of them are in danger. If they return back, they have to accept their violence. They have to be in community of Taliban. That the Taliban they had violence. How they can work with Taliban that there is no human right, there is no behavior, there is no human right for women. How they can work with them?
But for Europe, the issue is highly political, not least here in Greece, the main gateway for refugees crossing from Asia into Europe. Afghans in Greece are asking the government to speed up the process of asylum applications for their compatriots who need to find safe haven here. But Afghans are already the largest ethnic contingent applying for asylum here. At 20,000, they are 4 times larger than the next ethnic contingent, who are the Syrians, and they account for nearly half of the total number of asylum applications. The government is worried that with the situation unfolding in Afghanistan, those numbers could rapidly rise. The European Union has long excluded Afghans from a relocation policy that helps relieve external border states. Now, Greece fears it could be left to cope with them. Psaropoulis, Al Jazeera, Athens.
HUSAIN is an adjunct professor at Georgetown University in Washington, D.C., and the author of the book The Islamist. He explains the relationship between Islamism and nationhood in Afghanistan.
Nationhood for the Afghans is something very ancient. It's an ancient civilization. Alexander the Great and others write about it, visit it. So we know about the Afghan people from antiquity. But today's Afghanistan, we've got to accept, is under the grip of a movement, the Deobandi, most extreme form of the Deobandi movement, known as the Taliban, alongside the Pakistani Taliban. So there is a geopolitical and a real battle for its own nationhood and idea at the helm of a very extreme organization. But the Afghans, there are people who have their own concept of what it means to be a nation state, and that's what we've got to support them to uphold in the modern world, in which the only unifying force in international politics and world order is that of the nation state. We can't undo that and return to empires and tribes. And I think it's fair to say that Afghanistan needs that help and assistance in the space of ideas and nationhood, rather than which more extreme version of Islam shall we adopt and apply. Most of these groups are highly schismatic. They form and then they split away, and then there are splits against the splits, because they're trying to uphold and apply an ideology that no longer works in the modern world. And that's why we saw, for example, in Tunisia, what was then the Islamist leader, Rashid Ghannouchi, openly saying that ideology no longer works. We've got to move away from it. Now, all of that said, where we're seeing progress in parts of the Islamist movement to move away from the ideology, what's happening in Afghanistan gives people a sense of hope that perhaps the flame of Islamism in Gaza and in Afghanistan and in Iran and elsewhere could continue to be burned.